Well, students, today I have with me Barrister Carolyn Burnside. Carolyn has been at the bar for over 20 years and these days she mainly prosecutes sex offences. Carolyn, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Rob.
So how emotionally and technically difficult is it to be prosecuting sex offences on a regular basis?
To say it's challenging is an understatement. Emotionally, you're dealing with people that have sometimes waited for many, many years before they come forward with something that is brutal, embarrassing and somewhat demeaning for them to talk about. Emotionally for me, I find that challenging because I need to prepare them for a very, very difficult system and set of rules within which to work. Technically, it's also very difficult these days because there's very complex evidentiary rules relating to sex offence trials. So you certainly need a lot of energy and a lot of empathy to prosecute in sexual matters.
Well, what sort of qualities does a barrister have to be prosecuting these types of very difficult matters, very difficult offences, day in, day out?
Your powers of communication are crucial, not only to judges but to juries. Juries may be sceptical about the allegations, they may have misgivings about sexual complaints. So your powers of communication are crucial. You need people skills. You need people to sense your passion. Without that, they can be very pessimistic. Often there are very dubious defences that are put forward. So the jury need to know that you feel very seriously committed to ensuring some justice for a person.
Well, you've been doing this for a long time now. What do victims, by and large, tell you about their experiences with our current criminal justice system?
Unfortunately, I don't get a huge opportunity to discuss matters with them after a trial, but quite often we have debriefs with victims. Some of them walk away feeling satisfied. None of them are elated, none of them. Most of them feel totally exposed. Rarely have I come by a victim who either feels delighted about the experience or completely demoralised. Again, a good barrister will prepare a person for both because our success rate in prosecution is still only around the 30% mark.
Well, I was going to ask about that. I mean, how does a victim feel when they've been brave enough to report a crime, gone to police, gone through the entire committal process and then the criminal trial process, and the jury comes back with a verdict of not guilty? How hard is it for the victim to cope with that? And indeed, how hard is it for you as a barrister coping with that?
It's very difficult for me to cope with. Psychologically, you've really got to move on to another case. But when your heart goes out to somebody who you've built up in terms of confidence and ability to express themselves, it's very, very difficult. But putting myself aside, there's not enough money put into helping that person after an awful outcome. Often they think, well, I went to all that effort and the community disbelieves me. They don't. So again, you need to tell them that's not what it's about. It's about gaining a conviction beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a very, very high standard.
As far as our students are concerned, they're watching this and they're considering what career path they should take in the law. Would you recommend, number one, going to the bar and number two, getting involved in prosecutions? Certainly.
You're 9 times out of 10, you're always on the high moral ground. Very rarely do you believe there's somebody with a false allegation. So you're on the high moral ground, you get a lot of experience in dealing with people, you get a lot of experience with dealing with sometimes difficult judges. So overall it's a wonderful experience, but there will be ups and downs, that's for sure. But the challenge is of course to present a case in the most attractive and strategic possible way, and I find that very rewarding when you'll have a person who's been through the rigours of our system and walks away and feels as though there was some modicum of justice given to them. That for me is very, very gratifying professionally.
So Carolyn, if you had one or two bits of advice to give to budding lawyers, our law students, what would that advice be?
It would be, don't be deterred by what appears to be at the moment a sense that it's all too difficult to get a job. I haven't got the time to talk about the steps that I took to pursue crime, But it will be a long road. It is a long and difficult road at times, but don't ever be deterred, because if you have a strong sense that you'll be good at something, you'll ultimately be very successful. Equally with women, don't be deterred by what can appear to be a male-dominated profession. You can be so much better than them if you've got the time and effort to put into it.
Well, there you go, students. Some great messages there. Don't be deterred, have passion, don't be put off, and by and large, looks like women are better than men. Thanks for joining us.